Hello and welcome back to Supernatural Lifeline Revelations. I'm your host, TNT, Tara Nicole Tarver, and we are here with an amazing special guest. I'm very excited. All the way from Detroit, we have a Dr. Eddie Connor. Now, there's been so many things going on in America. Really, it's been an uproar, but really things are turning when people actually get knowledge and wisdom. Wisdom is actually applied knowledge. So I love the fact that this young man has taken the time to really bring history together with the current situation of the world and began to make it where people can understand. I really refer to it as like the apologists, because the apologists were able to say things in a way where people were able to feel it in their heart without even knowing that their minds are transforming and changing. He's a linguist. He's an amazing man of God, not to mention he's been on CBS, TVN, ABC, NBC, you name it, the Word Network. He's also worked with the likes of people like the President Obama. He's been able to do some things with him, and T.D. Jakes, so many, none other than he is a cousin to the late Prince. His family has a lot of artistic ability inside of this family. It's amazing between him and his family. So we are going to talk about his new book. Welcome, Dr. Eddie Connor.
What an honor it is to be with you here.
Yes.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Your timeline can be your lifeline.
You know what? People do not know that literally this young man 6 years ago was speaking on one of my private groups, and he actually said that, and I snagged it, took it, and who would have known that you would be here today in the studio with me, but I'm still using your wonderful tagline. Thank you so much for giving it to me, because I stole it.
Absolutely.
I wasn't the originator.
Name it and claim it.
I'm naming it and claiming it. Really, it's been an amazing year this year, but not only did you take, a month or two, you were so quick to write this book. It just burst out of you, you said, and I really got a chance to dive into it, and I could not believe the factual information in America. AmerICan't, I Can't Breathe. This has been one of the most, what would you call it, drastic years for a lot of people. What would you say in the middle of COVID-19 and everything that we've experienced, what would you really say is going on in America with the situation? This is literally your 11th book in 2020. Mm-hmm. You did the 2020 vision this year, and you were able to talk about these issues that we're facing in America. I haven't seen anyone do it like you. So I really would love to talk about how this book came about and how you think it's going to impact the world and what you're going to experience.
Well, absolutely. You know, what an honor it is, again, to be able to be on your program, your segment, to be able to speak truth to power. And, you really just share it in a way that is uncanny. As a queen, quintessentially unique, empowering everyone naturally for the kingdom of God, but also for culture. And, I wrote this book, AmerICan't Breathe, Red, White, Blue, Black Lives, and Unmasking Race in America. When you look at what has taken place, especially as of late with George Floyd, with Breonna Taylor, with Ahmaud Arbery. And it is the same thing that many of our predecessors have fought for, but still have not seen. Mm-hmm. Really, freedom, justice, and equality. It's still being choked from Black and Latinx bodies in our world.
Right.
And from COVID-19 all the way back to 1619, racism since 1619 to COVID-19,
wow.
It has been the same thing. And so being able to shift the trajectory to really speak truth to power and get remediation for the issues. And the greatest sin in American history is the sin of slavery, that there still has not been any remediation for, much less redemption.
A lot of times I've said, I feel like the situation wants to be overlooked, but it's like any wound, you can't really not treat it. You have to treat it. You can't put a Band-Aid on it. You can't just patch it up. Some things need to be dealt with properly. And these are issues that, if you look about in third grade, they taught us. In first grade, they said, you know what? If someone offends you, you should apologize. It's the right thing to do. When they look at the rules that they laid out for the foundations of us being model citizens, they're the things of acknowledging that you hurt someone. If you go to counseling, all of the counselors and therapists, they tell people to acknowledge the person, to understand, try to put yourself in their shoes. And realistically, I've not seen that in America. We've never actually acknowledged that this has been a problem and that we could do something. Just a simple, I apologize. I'm sorry. We were wrong. It's never been said, but yet now I see the entire world being crying out for an apology, really, and a transformation and a change. And I don't think people really know how to go about that. And I really found in your book that you really brought a lot of suggestions.
Oh, sure. Yeah, and I think in many cases those suggestions even speak to the whole aspect of freedom, justice, and equality that has to be given. I believe there's got to be remediation even economically. When you think of the knee of injustice that has been taking place to really choke out so many black bodies in America. Then we've got to think about voting. You know, this year we're going to have to go to the polls, but also the post office. And then they even mentioned the whole aspect that 22% of those mail-in ballots will possibly not be counted. So when we're dealing with masks and gloves and really unmasking the whole aspect of what is taking place in America, we've got to put ourselves in a precarious position now because what did Esther say? If I perish, let me perish. And so many people are perishing because of what has not taken place here in these yet-to-be United States of America.
That's true. It's very true. How do you see the late incident with George Floyd and how people are handling their rage, their anger, their feelings about it? Because literally, there's been cross culture. People are coming together now saying, this is enough. Enough is enough. That picture is forever embedded in our minds of what we saw with the knee on George Floyd's neck. And what I think about is the fact that a peaceful protest on the football field, not saying anything, was unrecognized to where now you have to see exactly what he was referring to in action, but sadly somebody else's life perished. But that situation has transformed a lot of things in the world and the way that we view this issue. It's like you could not say that it's not an issue anymore. And it's been going on for years. We just have cameras now filming it everywhere. So now people are feeling it in their heart. And then true colors are coming to the surface right now in 2020. Literally, it's been a turning upside down. It's been a transformation of power. And people don't know how to handle power. Then there's those who are rising up now that have voices like yourself. What do you see yourself, how do you see yourself transforming minds in this time? Because I see you on the radio, you've been on television, you're in interviews, you're flying all over the world, and truly your voice is being heard in a way where people would not think of these solutions that you're bringing. I really was very, very excited to see that you brought solutions, not a complaint. You had factual information, and that was one of the things that I loved. It is engaging from start to finish. Every time I'm reading this book, I'm like, this guy is getting better and better with every chapter. It's making you think. So where do you see, America going with this book?
Well, I think America has to literally look at itself. I mean, America now is sick from the virus that it has caused, and in many cases is on life support. America is in need of a lifeline, so to speak. And when you think about what did Micah say? What does the Lord require of thee? To do justly, to love mercy, to walk humbly with thy God. Justice and mercy is necessarily needed. When you can't talk about Jesus and not include justice. They are not indivisible, they are collective. And so, as James Baldwin said, to be black in America and to be relatively conscious is to be in a rage almost all the time. So we're seeing the fires of fury and frustration that is taking place in this nation because we see that the knee of injustice has choked out socioeconomic sustainability, food insecurity as people are grappling with furloughs, where people in many cases are evicted from their homes because they don't have the monetary resources. When you see 45% of black businesses that are projected not to be able to make it through COVID-19, 45+ million Americans have filed for unemployment. something has to transpire and take place in this nation because we do not live in the United States of amnesia. We have to call to reminder of what it is that people have died for to gain the right to what we are still fighting for our rights today. And even as NAACP said, we are done dying. And so now is the time for America to literally not cut off the oxygen supply of freedom, justice, and equality, but begin to allow us to breathe for the very first time.
When this book was being birthed, what actually was the process? How did it come about?
You know, 2020 marks 20 years of me being cancer-free, to where I don't look like what I've been through. You know, your test of testimony, your misery is ministry, and your mess is message. God used your setbacks as set up for your greatest comeback. And so, as I was writing this book, I recalled my story and my journey of overcoming cancer and trying to find the can in cancer, so to speak. And I remember as I was grappling and having these chest pains as a teenager, I said, I can't breathe.
Oh, wow.
For very different reasons than a George Floyd or even an Eric Garner. But I thought about how I was treated differently, even as a cancer patient, by those who would be deemed frontline workers, treated differently than white cancer patients. Statistics suggest that even your doctor, based upon your skin color, treats you differently.
True.
And so to think about how I was even fighting for my life, but treated differently because of the color of my skin, even in a cancer ward. And then just thinking about the climate and the crux of America and where do we go from here. Dr. King's last book was written on an island where I grew up in Jamaica, and he asked the question, where do we go from here, chaos or community? And my last chapter, which is chapter 8 in that book, the chapter is entitled, What's Next? So when you're thinking about police reform, you're thinking about voting, you're thinking about even remediation economically, many of those things that we have to put on the table and literally dissect, because this is more than politics or politricks. This is more than personalities, it's about policies.
Yes.
And we've got to breathe life into this nation. We've got to make America great for the first time.
I was reading in the book about you being a little boy and remembering the injustice, the being called a monkey from a little girl and the N-word from someone else. And it made me think of even my own sons, where a lot of people don't understand if you're not in our position of a mother. I know your mother helped you to fight through your cancer battle. She's the one who encouraged you and empowered you with the Word of God and told you that we have to fight, and she was not willing to let you go, which I commend her so much for. But as a mother, standing in the shoes of her and myself, saying, son, if you get pulled over, I'm going to need you to put your hands on the dashboard. Don't make any sudden movements. Please don't mouth off. Please just do what he tells you. Say, yes, sir. If you're going to reach over to the glove box to get your registration, tell him, may I reach for my the glove box to get my registration? And then say, okay, I'm going to reach over. This whole process to be having a conversation with an 8-year-old boy, my son, and I can't say that you don't feel a concern as a black mother who has 5 brothers and my father and my sons and uncles. It is something that we would be lying to say that it's not a concern. We believe God and we trust the Lord. We're raising our children up, educating them, telling them to make sure your pants are pulled up, dress better, make sure that you're more polite, make sure that you go over and beyond, and yet and still you're still in your Mercedes for the first time driving, and you're getting pulled over right when you get your brand new car, and you're having this situation play out that me as a mother is telling my son, hey, dress the part. You got your suit, and it's still not enough. You've got the car, you've done the degrees, you're a doctor, and it's still not enough. Where do we go from here with that, and how do we begin to paint the pictures where others can understand that this is not us being paranoid, this is a real situation?
What an incredible, poignant question. When you think about every 28 hours in America, a black person is a victim of police brutality. Black people are projected to die 2 to 3 times more than their white counterparts due to police interaction. We can't just talk about pleading the blood, but not talk about the violence the police brutality that spills our blood. When you think even about the whole aspect of police reform, and even it goes to the question, unarmed and still deemed dangerous. You comply, but many people still die. I'm never unarmed if my skin is the weapon that you fear. And so even with my police interaction, you know, when I was pulled over by a cop and he asked me, the first question wasn't for my license or my registration.
Whose
car is this? What do you do for a living? How did you get this? I wanted, matter of
And
fact,
he didn't believe that you were a teacher.
Didn't believe I was a teacher.
Wow.
I was seen as a threat, but not seen as a person who was a leader in the community.
What was your feeling in that moment?
The feeling in that moment when you're seeing, you know, a flashlight cascading on your black skin, when you're seeing a police officer with his hand harnessing his gun, as if he's getting ready to be judge, jury, and executioner, you're fearful, you feel threatened, but even still to this day, there's still paranoia, there's still panic when you see red, white, and blue behind you. Every single day that you're possibly driving down the road, minding your own business. And so you know, wasn't riding dirty, as they say, and none of that. But it brings a level of paranoia, because where can, in many cases, even a black man go in this country without feeling like a pariah, a predator, or even his life threatened?
You know, I, as a child, actually saw my father have a fight with the police, and I was 4 years old. And I remember because my dad had just left the NFL, and he was sitting on our porch when like 6 of them walked up. Yeah. And when I came over to say what was going on, the policeman pushed me, and as a father,
wow,
my dad, it wasn't good. But it was, and so when he stood up, and he had a fight with them. And only way that they were able to, he was in great shape, so they weren't really, it was, I mean, any father, the first thought if somebody pushes your daughter is to react. So he reacted as a man would, and literally they lifted my father off with him on his neck with their stick. Oh, and I was standing there screaming as a child. And I remember looking at my brother later on, and we were just silent at home. And God's favor was on his life, because when they went to go book him, because now you've attacked the police or whatever, this is many years ago. He had just left playing for the Patriots. And so he was actually still kind of like a figure. So they didn't know, but when they got to the police station, a guy that was booking him said, he said his name, Tarver. He's like, "Did you grow up in Arvin?" He's like, "My wife knows you guys." The guy released him.
Wow.
So it's just the favor of God on his life, and you know, but I never could get that image out of my mind. To this day, I can still see my father, and never again do I want to experience that. And when I was having these same talks that we're having as family, when I saw my brother and my dad together one day, I was like, "Can I just pray over you?" And they're just looking like, "Why are you praying?" I was like, "No, I just want to, just please, can you just let me pray over you?" I just wanted to touch them and pray. I have a brother that's 6'5". He's playing in the NBA, and he runs a foundation of a very well-known NBA player. And he said he was driving back up north, and the police officer had pulled him over, and he said they came with their guns drawn. He's huge, first of all, and they pulled him, yanked him out the car, and he said he's just like, okay, you know, he has nothing at all in the car at all. And they said, "Well, you know, we saw these type of cars run drugs." And he said,
wow,
we figured you're with this car and you're with that car. And I was telling my brother, "Well, did you tell him to look you up? Did you tell him to Google you?" He didn't do that. But that moment, that would have been my first thought, like, "Hey, just Google me real quick before you guys, you know, say something," so he could see just who he is and what he does. And I couldn't believe, I've never seen my brother cuss. I've never seen him hurt anybody. I've never seen him talk out of turn. I've never seen him be rude to anybody. And for me, I remember the gripping feeling like, of all brothers, you too. And that's when it really hit reality to me. You know, little boys with toy guns. And so we as women are concerned. And now I love that I see white, black, brown, red mothers, yellow. are out with their signs and they're concerned too, you know, and we're saying, hey, we need to address this. We need some reformation. And I really feel like your book should be in every library. Do people, because they're going back to libraries now, you know, they were switching over to all computers, but when they open again, it should be in every library, it should be in every bookstore. I could see it being taught in colleges because I really found that you've captured some things that I haven't seen at all throughout all the articles and writings we have. And so where do you project your book to be? What hands do you think this book should be in? Because I really feel like there's so many answers here in your book.
Well, I think it needs to be not only in the hands of people who look like me, but also in the hands of our white brothers and sisters, because this is not just a fight that is specifically racial segmented. It's got to be a place to where we're all coming together.
Absolutely.
You don't have to look like me to fight for me. All you have to do is just get in a fight with me. And so it's more than you just saying, I'm not racist because I voted for Obama, or I'm not racist because I have a black friend. Like, I'm not racist because somebody in my family is in an interracial relationship.
Right.
But it comes to the place of, how am I an anti-racist? Will I not just be a protester provocateur and just go downtown and take a photograph and post it on social media and just do a hashtag, but is now coming to the place of, am I creating equity? How can I create diversity? As you mentioned before, and even as you're quoted in the book, Chapter 8, you making it great. Chapter 8, New Beginnings.
Right.
We need one in America. You talked about the responsibility of privilege.
Yes.
And it speaks from Romans, which said, those who are the stronger must bear the infirmities of the weak. And so that's what we need, using your privilege as a basis, not to further castigate negativity, but create opportunities for people who look like me and beyond to segue to the next level.
A lot of people of different nationalities are coming and saying, how can we help?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't know quite what to do. When people ask you, what can we do? Exactly. I'm one person. I have one business. I only have this amount of money. I don't have this type of influence, but what can I do as an individual? What would you tell them?
First and foremost, you have to unsuture yourself. You've got to begin to go look within yourself and see, what are the biases that I have? What are the stereotypical views? As Nelson Mandela mentioned, nobody is born being a racist, that's taught. And so now you have to unlearn what you have learned. I need to look at my biases first. I need to see what are the preconceived notions that I have about people of color, of black, Latino, so on and so forth. But also, how can I begin to be a champion by raising my voice? Not just allowing people to come into the room, but sitting at the table, and then now creating opportunities for leveraging ladders of leveraging leadership for them to move their life to the next level, creating opportunities of equality, but also equity.
Absolutely.
Equity gives you a seat at the table. It says, you know what, certain things may not be fair. And I think when you think about this, when especially our white brothers and sisters have had a 400-year head start.
Right.
You've lapped us for 400 years, and now we're just trying to get off the starting blocks. There's never a way that we'll be able to catch up. But you can create some ladders of equity socioeconomically, diversity in specific corporations and partnerships and business to where they have a seat at the table.
Absolutely. Well, I think you're doing an amazingly brilliant job of doing your part.
Trying to.
And I just want to commend you. I've seen you change a lot of lives. In past time, you're usually talking about relationships.
Right.
And you have written, this is your 11th book.
Number 11, yes.
And George Floyd said, I can't breathe 11 times.
11 times. Interesting.
It is very interesting and very ironic. It took you how long to write this book?
You know what? I'd like to say I've been writing it for the last decade,
Right.
to really just put all my thoughts together. Probably a 5 months or so, 4 or 5 months, and I think it just all came out.
It just came from your heart.
Yeah. We have to, as John Lewis said, the late legendary John Lewis, we have to get into good trouble, necessary trouble, to redeem the soul of America.
I see you out there marching, doing some things with your bullhorn. And you're every time I turn around, you're in this city and that city, and you're on air here, you're Africa and even Jamaica, you're on lives, and now you've been doing it virtual. Matter of fact, you just did a 2020 summit.
Yes.
And a vision summit, which was supposed to be in Detroit, but you guys did it remotely. And I saw that you addressed some issues there. How was that well received, being that it's virtual, getting the messages across? Do you find that most people are tuning in and able to really hear, even though they can't really touch you tangibly and you're not in an actual place? What's the impact you're seeing from something like that Vision Summit, where you're able to educate people and have a real talk?
Well, I think it is, we're now creating a space and place where it's comfort, right from the comfort of your home or phone. And now 2020 reminds us, in this day and this time, this age, can you touch somebody without touching somebody? Can you be there without being there? And so we're grateful to have had you as one of our speakers who just lit the cauldron, lit up people's lives, and you changed lives as we were live.
I was the last thing to add. You already had such an amazing lineup. You know, thank you for giving me the opportunity. I appreciate it.
You helped to give us a crescendo, and I think people now we're able to take the strategies and the tangible tools and really create, their own opportunities, because now, when you see people are furloughed more than ever before, now you've got to create other streams of income, and entrepreneurship is that gateway to another level.
And I can't wait to talk about that, because I got to interview you about your 2020 vision book, because it is what people are doing now. They're creating and reinventing and finding what their purpose is in spite of what's going on. Can you look in the camera and tell people how to reach you and how they can get connected, where they can get your book? And it hasn't been released yet, so I'm so excited that I actually have a copy.
Yes. Can I hold that up too?
Yes, please.
AmerICan't breathe. Red, white, blue, black lives and unmasking race in America. Listen, it is an absolute honor to be able to share. The revolution will not only be televised, it will be digitized. All you have to do is go to my website, EddieConnor.com, EddieConnor.com, and then also it's available as a hard copy. You see here, available as an ebook and an audio book, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, Audible, wherever books are sold. Get it in your hand, and it's going to change you.
Thank you. We have to have you back again. Thank you for coming to LA too. We are so honored to have you, the one and the only Dr. Eddie Connor. We appreciate you so much. You are watching Supernatural Lifeline Revelations, where your timeline is someone else's lifeline. Please tag, share, invite, leave a comment, and come back next week. Thank you.